Good Chodesh, good morning, good everything, and hopefully a good Shiur. We are back in Bava Metzia Pei Zayin Amud Aleph. Today we're going to be learning about a whole new thing, new topic called a poel oichel. A poel is allowed to eat from the fruit of the alabais. Well, a person is picking fruit in the field is allowed to eat from the fruit that he's picking, and that is the halacha in the Torah. It's in Parshas Kiseitze, and that will be the topic for the next few days. But we first have other issues to deal with from the previous Mishnah. Let's go into Ela ad shelo yeschil b'melocha. Line starts with the word b'melocha, about 6 or so lines from the bottom of the page, Pei Zayin Amud Aleph. Ad shelo yeschil b'melocha. This is a story about the what was the name of the Tana? Rabbi Yosef. He told his son, if you gave an open-ended promise to the Poelim, the food is on us. They would charge how much? They would tell you, okay, we can have food like Shlomo Melech. No, even more like Avram Avinu. Therefore, you have to specify and say, no. Before they start working, before it's a point of no return, you have to tell them, no, guys. When I said food, I meant pas v'kitnis. What's pas v'kitnis? Bread and some extra, some hummus, tchina, some extra stuff with the bread, but not much more than that. Now comes the Gemara with the following question. Go tell them, Al menas she'en lechem alai ela pas v'kitnis. The condition, all you're going to get from me while you work by me is some bread and kitnit. Omer leRav Acha b'ed Rav Yosef leRav Chizda. Rav Acha, the son of Rav Yosef, asked Rav Chizda the following question. It's a short question, but it needs a little bit, it's a tiny bit tricky. Question is as follows. Pas kitnis tnan. When we learn in the Mishnah, pas kitnis are the correct words in the Mishnah, pas kitnis, meaning bread made out of kitnis. You know, in Mexico, they have cornbread, and maybe other places as well, actually, right? In other words, do we talk about pas kitnis, bread made out of kitnis, which is lower than good cereal bread, right? In other words, it's bread of lower level, which most people don't eat. And maybe that is what they were promised. Oy pas vekitnisnan. Maybe no. Maybe the meaning was, I'll give you bread, not just nice normal bread, even extra kitnis, some hummus, tchina, matbucha, on top of the bread. Now, that seems to be the question of the Gemara. What was the story between the Tana and the Poelim? The question that everyone should ask is, who cares? There was a Maisa which he told them. It's not even the Halacha, because by the way, the Halacha is not like that. The Halacha go to Minhag Medina, anyways. So the question is, my da'ava, what's been? Why is there enough kamina? Explains Tosfos like this. Of course, he meant to give them pas and kitnis. What he gave them at the end of the day was nice and fancy. This is a Tana, not a Maizer. He gave them a pas, a nice pas, plus kitnis. If you understand what's going on here, it's either you go below standard or above standard. Either you say, I'm not giving you regular bread made out of wheat and barley. I'm giving you some cornbread, some, I don't know, tiras bread, something low, or hummus bread, or I'm giving you bread plus hummus, bread plus something else. What? That's the question. Now, why does that have to do with us? The question is as follows. When he gave them pas and kitnis, right? What was his agreement? When a person says to the other guy, I'm giving you pas kitnis, not the kitnis. I'm giving you pas kitnis. Do we say, listen, he obviously didn't mean to say, I'm giving you lower level bread, because nobody eats that bread. It's very abnormal. It's below standard to have such bread. So needless to say, even if you omitted the vav, and you just said pas kitnis, you really mean to say bread and kitnis. Because bread made out of kitnis, who eats that? Or maybe we say no. He told them pas the kitnis, and that's why he gave them that. But if he says pas kitnis, yes, sorry, honey, I meant what I said. I meant low-level bread. And the nafkamina is today, 2023. This is not just about the Mishnah. When a person tells his friend, lepoil, and not offering you fine dining over here. I'm a balabois. I want you to, paint my house, deal with my garden, do something simple. And I'm giving you some food. And I said the words pas kitnis. Do I mean what I said? Yeah. Pas kitnis, I'm giving you something below standard. You don't like it, leave. That's what I'm giving you. Or we say, no, pas kitnis is so low that we assume that he meant pas and kitnis. Even though he omitted the vav, halacha adds the vav, and halacha says no. When he says pas kitnis, you surely didn't mean something so low. You meant bread plus hummus, bread plus trina. That's the question of the Gemara. Tnan, if that's Tnan, Omerle, he answered him, Elokim, I swear by Hashem, tzricha vav kimud yadelo brois, which means the words pas kitnis require the letter vav, which means only if you said pas the kitnis, yeah, and you have to add the vav. By the way, mud yadelo means, very interesting words, is the boat has a vav shaped, the letter vav, it has like a hook that the captain uses to guide the boat or to anchor, all kinds of, to give it guidance, something very, very important. Yeah, a boat without that vessel is not worth much. But it's a game, it's a play in words here. You're asking me if you have to add the word vav, the letter vav, you have to, just like the vav of the boat is important, meaning only because it says pas vekitnis, that's why they deserve pas vekitnis. But if the person says pas kitnis, no, we don't automatically assume that he'll give him fancy pas kitnis. If he says pas kitnis, he means a non-fancy one. He means the one made out of hummus, one made out of like a ketogenic bread, which is actually very expensive. But yeah, but it's considered below standard in halacha. So the Maisa, the Balabais wins. The Balabais wins, and if he says pas kitnis, it's going to give him lower bread or pas kitnis. We don't automatically add the vav, and we assume he meant the fancy, the better one. If he says pas kitnis, that's what he meant. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel argued on the previous opinion, and he said, no, why are you so nervous? Who's talking about fancy meals? Shlomo, Avram Avinu, what are you talking about? Hakol K'minhag Medina. What does that mean? Hakol K'minhag Medina means if it's normal by everybody else's offices to give them, I don't know, 2 sandwiches and 1 can of Coke, whatever they want to poison them. So give them 2 sandwiches, 1 can of Coke. You go by what's normal. Yeah. Now the question is, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel added 1 word. You know, the Mishnah is not a newspaper. The Mishnah doesn't have extra words, sometimes stylistically, but you have to understand, yeah, what each word means. L'chatchila. Frag the Gemara, hakoil la'atuya imai. Why is Rabbi Shimon Gamliel adding the word hakoil? Everything K'minhag Medina. We're talking about food here, right? Most of the Mishnah, except for the beginning that spoke about rising early and leaving late, right? About working hours, most of the Mishnah spoke about the eating, you know, the liability, who has to pay for the food. So now what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says, K'minhag Medina, give him food like everybody else does. Why is he adding the word hakoil? Everything should be done like K'minhag Medina. What la'atuya imai? What are you coming to add over here? Answers the Gemara, la'atuya yo. It's coming to add the following: the Tanan or Tzatanya, a serches apoil. The person rents. The person wants to hire a worker. The Omerlo, and he told him. Now we're not talking about food. We're talking about salary. Actually, he told the worker, "You know how much money you're going to get? Ke'echad v'kishnayim ibnei ha'ir. You're going to get the same salary as some workers in this town." Very vague. You know, we know that. Oh, why is it vague? Because you know why? Some people in this town, for being a secretary, they get 30 shekels, some 40, and some 50. That's quite much the reality. Some fancy, more or less, could be the same. And some companies pay more, some less. So the question obviously is, when he said, I'm giving you like some of the people, some get 30, some 40, some 50, how much would you get at the end of the day, at the end of the hour? Says Tanakama, which is Rabbi Yeshua, says Rabbi Yeshua, it's vague. What happens when we're unclear about something? I was taught early in my life, Amoitzi lechem, I'm joking, Amoitzi mechavero olavaraya. What does that mean? That you give him the minimum. You give him 30 shekels, not 40, not 50, because then the Balabas can say, you want to take out money of my pocket? Prove it. Prove that I meant more than 30. I told you, like some people get 30. Why are you so greedy going for the 40, 50? The Chachamim say no. You have to get Meshamnin Beineim, to oil it between them, which means they have to come to some kind of agreement between the highest and the lowest. Machlokes is showing exactly how it's done, but at the end of the day, we have an average here. So if some get 30 and some 50, you'd get, let's say, 40. Yeah, Nagid, yeah, you get more or less in the middle, and therefore, and that is exactly what Rashbag was saying. Rashbag is not talking about food anymore. Not only food, he says you should go by Minhag Medina, also the salary should not go with what? With the lowest one. Bat Minhag Medina. And here, my friends, it's clear what it says in the Yerushalmi, and this is one clear rule in Halacha. Minhag mevatel Halacha. People misuse this concept. They completely misunderstand it. They say all kinds of shtuyot. So I'm telling you, minhag mevatel Halacha means in Choshen Mishpat. What's the halacha? Right? You want to get money out of my pocket? Prove it. When it comes to minhag Medina, if the accepted minhag is the average minhag is 40, some give 30, some 50, and some 40, so the average is 40. Then you have to follow the average accepted middle of the road minhag Medina against the halacha of a Metzia Chaveroi. And we don't say it's going to get 30, it's going to get 40, because that's the average. When you do an average of different salaries in the Medina, go to the average, and if you were vague, that's what you have to give the worker. And that's what it means in the Yerushalmi here in the Gemara, equivalent to Yerushalmi. It says minhag mevatel halacha. Doesn't mean anything else. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Ve'elu oichlin min haTorah. Our Mishnah discusses a pasuk, two psukim actually, a Pashas Kiseitze. Yeah, and actually I'd like to share screen now with people. I don't know if you got my email today with the psukim. Check your phones, please. Before we start the next Mishnah, I'm reading the psukim from, you're going to see it on the screen. You can open the Chumash, Chumash Dvorim, the end of Kiseitze. It says in the Torah, Kisove bekem re'echa, if you come to your friend's vineyard, and I'm telling you now, and I'm going to prove it later, not me, the Gemara, if you come to your friend's vineyard as a worker, not as a visitor, not as a tax inspector, and not as the mother-in-law. You come there as what? As a worker to actually work in the vineyard. Ve'ochalta anovim, you may eat, what's anovim? Very good. Yeah, you may eat grapes kenafshecha as much as you want, or so it seems. Yeah, sov'echa. Yeah, to your heart's desire. Vel kilyecha lo siten. Don't put it in your kelim. Yeah, you're picking the grapes, let's say. Yeah, you can eat as you work. Nagid, there are many, many details we're going to see, but generally speaking, you may eat as you work, but don't take to the zise kinderlach at home. Don't take it to your wife, children, shviger. Don't put it in your kli in order to take. It's not a takeaway place. It's as you work, you're allowed to pick and eat. Yeah, don't put it in your kelim. These are just translation. Continues the Torah a very similar scenario. If you come to your friends, what's kama? Well, kama, usually kama, although not always, it's going to be discussed today, is the wheat or barley when they are in the kama, when they're standing. But it could be also other fruit and vegetables. Don't come to your friend's field, or when you come to your friend's field, yeah, in order to deal with the kama, with the produce that's growing there. The kotafta mililois beyadecha, you're allowed to pick mililois, grains, yeah, kernels with your hand. Okay, I think you should really fry them, whatever. The chemesh lois sonif al kama sarecha, but don't put the sickle over the kama, the produce of your friend, whatever that means. Yeah. Don't use your sickle, like big amount, and then eat it. That's the Pashut Pshat. Translation. So these two psukim are going to be the stars of the show for the next few days. That's going to be discussed. What is the idea here, and what are the details of the halacha of a worker coming to his friends, to his employer's field or his vineyard, and he's allowed to eat seemingly as much as he wants, right? That's the question here. Now, let's see the Mishnah. Questions are not super welcome now, because if it's about what we just read now, everything hopefully will be explained. Unless it's a very, what? Yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm going to mention it. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you. Thank you. These people eat by the law of the Torah. Thank you for the reminder. Tosis is bothered by a question. What do you mean these people eat by the words of the Torah? Most things mentioned in the Mishnah are from the Torah. The Mishnah is not teaching me the Quran. You know, why is saying in the Torah? Explains Tosis. Up until now, when we spoke about people eating in the working place, that was midorabanan, that was an agreement. I don't have to give my workers sandwiches. If that's a miniga makom, that's miniga medina, that they get 2 sandwiches and 1 mineral water bottle, then that's what I do. But that's an accepted minag. Not that the Torah is telling me to do that. There's no esse and love. What we're going to see now is about people working in the field, and there's a mitzvah saseh and mitzvah slota aseh mefurash that I have to give them to eat. Thank you for the reminder. Once we're at it, I looked in the chinuch yesterday. You know, the chinuch is a good sefer to see why is that so. Why really do we have that mitzvah? The chinuch was really not surprising. He said to show you have a kind heart. Be kind-hearted. The person is working. You know, he doesn't say all that, but I'm saying kind heart, rachvus alev, tuv lev. The person is working in the field. It's hot. It's this. It's working. Sees those delicious grapes. Have him. There are many limitations to how much you can eat and what and where. All will be discussed with Hashem. Conceptually, it's similar, and the Gemara will compare it to lo sachsam shol bedishoy. You have an animal. The animal, you know, is threshing, is doing a work. Don't muzzle it while it's working. You know, human beings are not like animals, but we all have our physical side. And the person wants to have some grapes and nash while he's eating within limit. You should allow him to do that, and don't be too tough with that. That's just the general idea. Be'ezus Hashem, all will be explained. Zok the heilige Mishnah. So first of all, this only applies to agricultural products while they are still mechubar lekarka, yeah, meaning while connected to the ground. However, bish'as gmar melocho, which means you're only allowed to eat something that is connected to the ground, grapes, whatever that is, and what? While the malacha is being finished. What do you mean being finished? Well, you pick it. When you pick the grapes or the pears or the apples or oranges, when you pick them, as you pick them, you can have some. But that's number one. Alternatively, another time you may allow to eat it is much later, which means, let's say those grapes are already off the tree, yeah, but they are tolush min hakarka. They're disconnected, eradicated, pulled out of the ground, picked from the tree. Now, ad shelo nigmar melachtoi, until the melacha, the job of the grapes is not yet finished. What does that mean? It means linyan meiser. There's a certain stage, and that we're going to discuss, when the fruit is not yet chayiv b'meiser. I'll give you just one general idea, which a lot of people know. Yeah, grapes. Yeah, let's say grapes are not meant to be wine; they're meant to be eaten. Yeah, I grow them for eating. If they're still all messy and dirty and full of dirt and full of mush and full of this, and they're not yet nicely organized, yeah, in the boxes, then I'm allowed to have it without meiser. There are gazillion details there. You can have it without meiser. Yeah, go cherry picking in the shtachim in places in Israel. You're allowed to eat the cherries before you put them in the box. Yeah, you're allowed to eat them derech ara. Many details there coming up soon. But lemaisa, there's a stage in the post the growth. It's already disconnected, but not yet properly organized, and in a stage in which it's considered as kavua and set and ready for meiser. During that stage, the poil is also allowed to eat it. Then too is allowed to eat it within limitations. All that applies only to things that grow from the ground, as opposed to what? As opposed to a milkmaid or a milkman. Yeah, people who milk cows or goats or sheep. They're not allowed to have a sip from the milk, because the Indian, this we say an animal doesn't grow from the ground. Only things that grow from the ground, last time I checked, that's fruit, vegetables, legumes, cereals. Those things, while you pick them, you can eat them, and also after you pick them, as long as they're not gemeisered, as long as they're not ready for meiser. During those two stages, you may eat it as long as the product is something that grows straight from the ground, not animals. Yeah. Continues the Mishnah. What's the opposite side? Ve'elu she'ein oichlim. What are which poilim or which situation a poil is not allowed to work? Somebody who deals with fruit or vegetables while they're connected to the ground, before the final stage of the malacha came. For example, Rashi brings down an example. Let's say you have betzolim. These are onions. Some onions have good potential. Some onions you can see, kick them out of school. Yeah, they have no potential, those onions, and they actually disturb the other ones. What do you do? What do you call that? Weeding. You take out the bad ones from the good ones. Now, the good onions are not yet ready to be picked. They're not ready to be picked yet. So Lamaisa, I'm now working in a field. There are fruit and vegetables there, and they're pretty much ripe, but not yet. Since it's not the last stage of picking, it's the stage before picking, it's weeding, or let's say hoeing around it, things like that. At that stage, is not allowed to eat because it's not yet the final stage. It's not what the Torah says. What's the other forbidden stage? If it's tolush min hakarka disconnected, after it's already ready for meiser. Let's say I took the grapes and I was misader them, I tidied them, it's called meruach, I smoothened them, now they're nice in a nice box, yeah? It's a shaila if that's the final stage or not, bringing it indoors maybe, whatever the stage is, once the grapes are ready to be meisered and you chayv the meiser, at that happy note, don't touch. You may touch, but don't eat. That's too late. So the only two stages are when it's ready to be eaten and off the tree, as I'm picking them off the tree, and later when they're still in the in-between stage, they're picked, but not yet chayv b'meiser. But dover she'en gedulim in ha'oretz. Another, I don't know, the chiddush over here is the Mishnah Stam continues the same thing as before, and the Mishnah says, en gedulim in ha'oretz, something that doesn't grow from the ground. Yeah, let's say you milk the cow or you make cheese. Yeah, you're a cheesemaker, professional, you work for Balabais, you make the cheese, the curd, the thing, the whey, you manage to do the whole thing, and not allowed to eat it, whatever stage that may be, beginning, middle, or end, because something that doesn't grow from the ground, regarding that, the Torah didn't talk about that. It's not included in the workers' rights to eat it. Why is a good question, I don't know. But Lamaisa Azoi, that's what we learn in the Torah, and now it's time to be excited and start the Gemara, not before we answer the questions. Yes, sir. There's the Heilige Gemara. Minani Mili. First of all, how do you know all that? How do you know? How do you know? Who told you that the poel is allowed to work? Allowed to work, yes. How do you know is allowed to eat the produce of the Balabais? Dichtiv. It says in the Torah, the Psukim I showed you before. Kitova bekerem re'echo ve'ochalto. You come to your friend's kerem, your friend's vineyard. You're allowed to eat. How do we know we're talking about a worker? That will be discussed later. How do you know it's not a visitor? That will be discussed. Zog the Gemara, very nice. Ashkechan kerem. Well, the Torah only talks about kerem, vineyard. En le'boel chidushoi. Kol mili minolan. How do you know other things? How do you know that it applies to papaya, guava, mango, or even olives? How do you know it applies to other fruit and vegetables? Zog the Gemara, gamrinan mikerem. We can learn it from kerem. Ma kerem miyuchod. Just like kerem has its special quality of what? Dover shegidul karka, as opposed to the cow being milked, the kerem, the vineyard, is gidul karka, grows from the ground. Ubishas gmar melocha poel oichel boy, when it's a time of the final stage of the melocha, i.e., picking the botzir, the harvesting, a poel may eat. So too, why not? Why shouldn't we compare it to everything else? I've called dover shegidul karka. Anything else is gidul karka. Yeah, that's, I don't know, star fruit and kiwi, anything you want. It's the end of the melacha, the end of the process. The pearl meat, why should kerem be different than anything else? Zog the Gemara, no, it's not so simple. It's not so simple. Why? I can show that kerem is exclusive and not inclusive. Why? Malik kerem shekin chai be'oilolois. There's a certain halacha that applies only to kerem and not to any other kind of orchard or garden in the world of any other species. That is called oilolois. Olal is a baby. If there is a baby cluster, which means oilolois means that you're supposed to leave for the poor people oilolois, which is a cluster that doesn't have even one group of anovim, of grapes that are all together. They're all dense together. It has one grape here, one grape there. Very nebuch looking kind of cluster. One grape here, one grape there. No ketef and no netef. It doesn't have a continuity of anovim in the top and not in the bottom. It's one very bad looking, one very sparse anovim in the cluster that you're supposed to leave to the poor men. That halacha does not apply to the regular field. Regular field, you have leket, shikha, upeya, but you don't have oilolois or any equivalent to that. Oilolois is exclusively unique just to kerem. If so, a kerem, we already saw, you have to be generous to the anim, and you have to give the anim the oilolois. It doesn't apply to anything else. If so, How do you know that the other halacha of picking while you work, maybe it also only applies to kerem, not to other things? And the Turk, from some reason, says kerem, not anything else. So the Gemara, okay, hey, there's a second pasuk. Remember, we saw on the screen there are two psukim. Gamin and mikama. Oh, we can learn it from kama. What does kama mean? Well, anything else that grows. And let's assume now wheat and barley that they grow. Zog the Gemara, kama gufa minolan. How do you know that a kama, that grown wheat, how do you know, or barley or stuff like that, how do you know that a poil may eat there too? It says beforish, you come to your friend's fully grown field and you pick it with your hands. You pick the, what's the names, the grains with your hands. Oh, so you see, not only kerem, also kama, also wheat, barley. So wait a second. Oh, kama also has special feature that nobody else does. Kama, let's assume now that kama means, as I said, wheat, barley, spelt, chameshes minidogon, buckwheat, the chameshes minidogon, only there chayav bechala. If your wife wants to make challah made out of rice, does she take challah? No. Corn? No. Only chameshes minidogon, the 5 halachic grains, only from them you have to take challah. Oh, so again, we see a special exclusive feature by kama that doesn't exist by papaya or mango, apples or oranges. So again, so only grapes have a special halacha, and the 5 minidogon, they have a special halacha. But all other fruit and vegetables, maybe there, the halacha of a poel coming and eating doesn't apply. How do you know? How do you know to expand it? So the Gemara, wait a second. Wait a second. The word kama means what? What's lakum? Get up. Yeah, lakum. Maybe kama means grown produce. How do you know it's grown produce of the 5 types that are chai bechala only? How do you know? Dilma kol kama koma rachmono. No, maybe kama means any type of produce that stands up. That is what? Also rice, also tomatoes, many other things as well. So the Gemara, no. Asya kama. We have a Gzera Shava to define the second pasuk that talks about kama. I'll define it to you through what? Gzera Shava. We know what Gzera Shava is. Asya kama, which means ksiv hacha. It says over here in our very dear pasuk here about the poil eating. You as a worker come to your friend's kama, your friend's field where everything's grown up. Uksiv hosam. It says over there regarding what? Sfiras ha'omer. When you start counting the omer, mehachel chermesh bakama. What is it that they cut on the second day of Pesach exactly? Starts with a B, finishes with a Y, right? Soiro. Oh, just like achel chermesh bakama, the sfiras ha'omer, mahosam kama de mechayva bechala, because barley that's discussed over there clearly is chayv bechala. Barley is the choshuva number 2 in the list of 5 that are chayv bechala. You make barley bread, very healthy. You take challah, absolutely. And the word kama denotes what? Something of challah. Avachonami kama de mechayva bechala. So too, kama is chayev bechala. Very nice. So what? The kama is chayev in challah. The kama that we speak about over here in the pasuk that talks about a poel coming into work to harvest and is allowed to munch and nash as he's working, that talks about those 5 types, but those are chayev bechala. So now, what about papaya, mango, oranges, apples, persimmon, whatever you want? What about gazillion, many other types that are not olives and are not the 5 types? Are they in the group? If a poel comes to work in his friend's field and he wants to pick the guavas, he better check very, very well from worms, yeah? Yeah, he picking the guavas, can he check and take the guava? Yes or no? Do we learn it from those 2 or don't we learn them? Zog the Gemara, ikal mifrach. We can ask the question and break and show that no, the halacha would not apply to other halachos. Malakama shekin chayev bechala. A kama is chayev only in chala. Oh, sorry, only kama is chayev bechala. Papaya, guava, apples, the oranges don't have chala, and therefore what? They don't have the halacha. Yeah, if you learn only from kama, no, there's a stoppage. It's exclusive. Only the one that's chayav bechala, it also has the halacha of a poil coming in to eat, but everything else doesn't. So more, wait. There's the first pasuk. Did you forget about kerem? Kerem yochiach. I can prove to you from the kerem from the vineyard. Why? Because kerem is not chayv v'chala. Kerem is not challah. You don't have to take challah from wine, right? Don't get there's wine and challah. You didn't take challah from the wine, and yet a poil may match the grapes. So maybe papaya, guava, apples, oranges also is the same. So no, kerem has something else exclusive. What is that? Mala kerem shekin chai be'oilalois. A kerem is chai be'oilalois, right? A kerem is something else is chai be'oilalois, and not anything else. Kama tochiach. But then we say yes. But Kama doesn't have oilolois, right? There's no oilolois by produce, and yet it's chayiv, and yet the poil is allowed to eat. So what do you see? You see that oilolois and challah are not the cause for having a poil coming to eat. That's not the reason. The chozer adin. Now we can make it inclusive. Lo reizeh kereizeh. The challah and the oilolois, each one has its own feature. None of them is exactly the same. So let's find a common denominator that includes everybody. Atzad shavish shabahen, there's one common denominator to all of them. Shekendovo shegidu lekarka. They both, what do they share in common? Chala, no. Oilolois, no. They're exclusive. So what do they share? The two examples the Torah gave me. They share, very nice. What do they share? They both grow from the ground. B'shas gmal melocho, poil ochel boy. Oh, and the Torah says it grows from the ground. A poil may eat. So now let's make it inclusive. Very nice. Again, let's summarize. Don't tell me that only because of oilolois, kerem has a special halacha oilolois, what a snob. So only kerem, the poil eating applies. Why? Because you see by what's his name? By the chameshes minei dogon, by the wheat and barley and skusemes, we don't have oilolois, and yet it applies. There's challah, yeah, but the kerem there's no challah. So you see, you tick off, you rule out challah does make a difference, and oilolus does make a difference. It's irrelevant for our halacha. What's the common denominator? They both grow from the ground. What's the common denominator between you and some, I don't know, Tim McKenzie from Western Samoa? You both have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and nothing else. Yeah, very, very low common denominator. We're all human beings. That's all. Yeah. I frag the Gemara. No, let's try and make it hard and make it exclusive. There is something that they have and nobody else does, and it has to do with a place called Beis Hamikdash. Malatzad shavish behen. There is a common denominator between these two mentioned in the Torah, mefurash, exclusive. Nobody else shares. Sheken yesh ben tzad mizbeach. Both wine and grains are brought to the mizbeach. Yes, when you bring wine to the mizbeach, actually every day. Yeah, you bring, with the korban tomid, with all many korbanos. Nesachim, libation, that's the word, of course. Yeah, what do you say, libate, is that the noun? Okay, you bring the nesachim to the hole there next to the kodesh, by the top of the mizbech. Yeah, and what about grains? Of course, menachos, menachos right, left, and center. Yeah, sometimes even from soirim, mainly from chitim. Oh, wait, so maybe only the choshuv things that are brought to Beis Hamikdash, the exclusive elite group that consists of who? Of Anovim and Chameshes Minei Dogon, V'tirosh. There's also a special halacha of the person coming to work and eat as well. But maybe papaya and guava. Are you allowed to bring a korban from papaya guava? No. Even if you take out the worms, you're not allowed to actually bring fruit to the mizbech. Anything sweet, you're not allowed, or honey, right? So you see what? Only these two are brought to the mizbech. So maybe that makes it somehow choshuv, and also affects the fact that if a poil may come. Now comes the Gemara. Wait. If you want to say that the Mizbeach is the name of the game, hey, there's one more guy who knocks at the door and wants to join the club. There's another kind of fruit that may be brought to the Mizbeach and should be brought also every day, and you mix it with the mincha, you mix it with the flour, and it's called, I think, shemen zayis. There's also nami zayis. There's bitzad Mizbeach. Oh, zayis. Yeah, in other words, olive. If your poyel, your worker, comes to eat olives, he doesn't come to eat, comes to work in your olive grove, he is allowed to pick the olives. Why? Because olives too can be brought to the mizbech. It's not written in the Torah, but as much as we try to make a tight-knit, snobbish club of only those mentioned in the Torah, Zayis mentioned to enter the glass ceiling and also make it there, because Zayis also comes to the mizbech. It's actually mixed together In most menachos, except for soito, in most menachos you mix it with the flour. Yeah, zog the Gemara even more. The Gemara now is voting harder, promoting zayis even more. The zayis olive b'me'atzad osi. You saying the zayis is only allowed to come to the group and make a poil eat only because of b'me'atzad, only because of the common denominator between those written in the Torah, kerem and kama? No. Who gufe kerem ikri is start his own right. You say in the Torah, what does the Torah say? You come to your friends kerem. We always think kerem means a vineyard. No. Look what it says about Samson. What it says in the Nach, it says dichtiv vayav migodish vad kama vad kerem zayis. Look at that. Shimshon burnt the whole thing of the Plishtim, and he burnt kerem zayis. Upa. So kerem zayis, an olive grove, is also called a kerem. Very nice. So mimela kerem, it says come to the kerem, eat anovim. But the word kerem includes zaysim too. So we have 3 items so far. I mean more, but to say anovim, zaysim, and chameshes minidogon. Amar Papa, no, don't be so excited. Kerem zayis ikri. Kerem stam lo ikri. No. When the Torah or the Nach, like in the story of Shimshon, says kerem zayis, it means an olive grove. But if it stam says kerem with no other adjective, it just means wine, like we always know, vineyard. Okay, but we call makom kasha. At the end of the day, it's still difficult because how many items do you have in your list? The 2 in the Torah, right, which are kerem of anovim, and the kama, which we now decided kama means from what? Kama is chameshes mida dogon, and zayis is also similar that it can make it up to the mizbeach. 99% of produce in the world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created so many beautiful fruit. What do you think when you say Birkas Hamazon and Bechein Bechesed Rachamim? It's a famous word. Hashem created the word with chen, with grace and beauty. So my friend said in Yeshiva, imagine yourself, all the fruit in the world would be black. Yeah, we have such beautiful fruit, so many flavors, so many tastes, so many colors, and so many textures. Wow, yeah, a pleasure for the eye. And Mimela, however, all these beautiful fruit are excluded from the poil. But the Mishnah didn't say that. The Mishnah said it applies to all fruit and vegetables. And yet so far, we, excuse the pun, we managed to pick and glean only 3. Elo Amar Shmuel, 1 second, please. Amar Kro, V'chermesh. What's chermesh? Chermesh is a sickle. Shmuel says, when the Torah says, don't lift your sickle over them, yeah, it means l'rabas kol ba'al chermesh. Comes to tell me any type of fruit or vegetable or legume that you use the chermesh for, you cut with a sickle, are all included. The Torah alludes, meramis, to all other types or most other types. Use a knife, use a sickle. They too are included in the parsha of poil. That's many fruit. Zog the Gemara. Wait. The high chermesh. No, the Gemara says no. Is that what you do with the word chermesh? No, the high chermesh. That word chermesh with darshan, we learn. We garner from it. We buy something else. We learn from it something else. We deduce something else from it. Bishas chermesh echoil. Shelo bishas chermesh lo teichol. Remember what we said? When is the poil allowed to eat? 24/7? Where's the diet? Yeah. Lamaisa is only allowed to eat while the chermesh is working, meaning by the time of the harvest, by the time of the picking, then. And that we learn from the word chermesh. So the word chermesh is not there to include all types of food that are cut by chermesh. No, it's coming to tell me about the stage and time. You're only allowed to eat the fruit while the chermesh is at work. Dr. Gemara, no. The Gemara is rejecting it. That halacha, no. No. The Gemara says, no. That you learn from somewhere else. Not true. The makor, the source for the fact that you're allowed to eat only by the time of picking is because it says, don't take it to your kli. Don't put it in your kli and take home to Shprinza Bela. In other words, yeah, El Keliecho denotes that when you have the kli and you're picking and collecting into the kli, you're allowed to pick, but don't leave it in the kli to make a nice pile. Give it a matana for someone's bar mitzvah or something, Yeah, that's what he means. So chermesh is still free to tell me what all types of fruit and vegetables where chermesh is used are also included, and the poy is supposed to eat it. Zog the Gemara, very nice, but that does not take care of 100% of the fruit. Teinach de bar chermesh. Bar chermesh, it's okay. I agree, I accept that now we have a bigger list, a larger group of bar chermesh, fruit, vegetables, and legumes and stuff that is what that is cut with a sickle. Not everything's cut with a sickle. The lav bar chermesh minolan. Let's say you have fruit and vegetables, says Rashi, even very classical ones. Tmorim. Yeah, let's say figs and tmorim, dates. Dates, figs. You don't use the chermesh. You pick it with your hands. Apples, oranges, as far as I know, I don't know. You pick it with your hands. Yeah. Orange picking, apple picking, right? Cherry picking. You do it with your hands. So do you say that the pearl is not allowed to eat it? Because you only learn it from Rud Chermesh? Doesn't make sense, or it doesn't really cover the whole story. The Mishnah spoke about all fruit and vegetables. Therefore, says Rabbi Yitzchak, and we're about to come to the source, to the real answer. Omar Kro, the Torah tells me, Kama. L'rabba kol bali kama. In other words, when the Torah says Kama, we thought it's just the 5 types. Now say no. Kama means any fruit and vegetables that stand above ground. That's all fruit and vegetables. Yeah. Even the ones that are subterranean, yeah, the carrots and the potatoes, they have stuff growing upstairs. They're leaves. Something always grows above ground, right? You eat the shirish, you eat the root, but lamaisa, everything is kama, even a small vegetable, something is above ground. So that's what he wants to say. The word kama comes to tell you anything that is grown, anything above ground. Papaya, guyava, shmayava, and papava, whatever you want, it's all there. Now, frag the Gemara, wait. Now comes a very tricky, sticky. If you follow it, it's very nice. Dog the Gemara, wait. You told me before not like that. Are you telling me now kama is so inclusive? The amarta kama de michayva bechala. Wait. Didn't you tell me before Xerashova from Sfiras Oimer telling me what? That kama only comes to tell me, Xerashova kama, to tell me only something that's chayiv bechala, like soiro, chitim soirim, yeah, dogon, tiro, not tirosh, yeah, shibor l'shual, all these things, yeah. Dog digmar, no. Hani mili, you have to follow through what we said before. That is only true mikami deneti chermesh. Oh, before we learned the posuk machel chermesh, yeah, and now it says lotani fala chermesh. Before, what's chermesh? Chermesh means any fruit where you pick which you use a sickle. That's not only chemeshes mine dogon. Before we knew about the word chermesh, we thought that kama is a good gzershova to exclude and say only chemeshes mine dogon. Once we have the word chermesh, it obviously added 50% of the produce where you use items, cutting tools to cut. That's obviously, boom, down. Now you throw the gzershova. You can't use Xersheva anymore because Chermesh comes to tell you only 5 types. There are 50 types that you cut with the Chermesh. Chermesh, now that we are past the very, very mitzumtzam small list of only 5, because we say anything that is cut with the Chermesh, we already know anything that uses Chermesh, even though it's not Chai Bechala. So we're already out of the small list of only 5. Now we're asking a new question, kama lamali. Now we have the question, why do you need the word kama? If you use the word chermesh, we know already that it's not only 5 minute dogon. Not only these 5 use chermesh, use it for maybe rice, also for corn. I don't know what for, many other things. So now we look with new eyes, new perspective on the word kama, and we say kama lamali lerabas kol bali kama. Very good, very, very nice. And that's the maskono. Very nice. In other words, the Torah uses 2 words. Chermesh. When you, again, let's see. When you use the word kama, you may think of 2 things. In your mind's eye, if you're knowledgeable enough, you think, what's kama? Kama means what? Chameshes min dagon. Zerashava, right? Things that grow that are cereals. Usually kama means cereals, by the way. Yeah? Or maybe means what? Maybe kama means anything that's above ground. Who decides the word chermesh? Because we said chermesh means anything that's cut with a sickle. So now you can't say it's only chameshes min dagon because there are 50 other types that are cut with a sickle. Now, when we say kama, obviously means to say not the very small list, but it's an interminable, huge list, all-inclusive list. Anything that's above ground, halacha applies to in the poil me'it. Mazel tov, who have arrived. Now we know that any types of fruit and vegetables, the halacha of the poil eating applies even the weirdest fruit in the world. One tiny second, and we're going to listen to you soon. Zog the Gemara is a new question, but it's also a finishing point for what we said before. The hashta the nafkalan michermesh mekama. Now that we learned the halacha that all types of fruit and vegetables are included, not just the two mentioned in the Torah, and you know it from the collaboration between the words chermesh and kama. Now, kitova bekerem reechol amali. Why did the Torah speak about kerem? Why did the Torah give an example of a vineyard? It's meyutar, right? The Torah should have said, when a poil comes to work in any fruit and vegetable, why do you need to say kerem? Before, we thought kerem, vineyard, teaches me anything like the vineyard when you have stuff growing up. You don't need that anymore. So now the question is, why do you really need to mention the word vineyard in the Torah? Answers the Gemara, we're going to see it soon after the question session. Rav is going to tell us from the word kerem and all the other words in the pasuk, we'll learn all types of halachic details to do with the permission of a poel to eat from what he works. Weiter. Oh, now we're really going to see a lot of details regarding what's included and what's excluded within the worker's rights to eat while he works. There's a limit there too. So we need it for all the details. Yeah, Kedetani. It says in the Brisa 4 lines from the fourth. It's the fourth line from the bottom of the narrow lines. Kisavoy. It says when you come to your friend's field, Nemar kan bia, benemar lehalan. It says in another place the lotion of coming, lo tovoy olav hashemesh. Oh, in other words, it says when you have to pay your worker, make sure you pay on time before the sun comes, before the sun sets. Yeah, he worked for you today, he painted your house or picked your tomatoes in your garden. You have to make sure you pay him before the sunset. Before sunset, you have to pay him. And so what's the Gzer Shava? Lovoy bia, to do with coming. Just like the Isser of waiting and holding back someone's salary, obviously applies to a poel, applies to a worker. Here too, the story, the halacha of somebody coming to the field or the vineyard or the papaya grove, and he's allowed to eat as much as he wants, only applies to a poel, because Lamaisa, the Torah didn't say that. If you just learn the Torah, if you're chas v'shalom karoim, yeah, it says you come to your friend's field. I can come to my friend's field and pick any fruit I want. I'm not a worker. I just feel like it. I'm hungry. Talk the Torah, I hold it, mister. Just like it says, ki tovoy, when you come. And in another place it says, lo tovoy, gzer shava here, tells me only workers have the workers' rights of eating as they work, not any foreign person. And by the way, this is a condensed brisa. A lot of the details in the brisa will be mentioned later. Not the next two, but the one after. Let's continue. Bekerem re'echa, you come to your friend's field. What does it mean? Your buddy from yeshiva? What's kerem re'echa? Veloy bekerem kuti. Now that's very misleading. If you come to the kerem of a goy, you come to the kerem of a kuti, even a kuti, let alone a goy, and you work for the goy, not only you are allowed to take and pick the cherries and eat as you pick, you're also allowed to take it home with you in a bucket. That limitation doesn't apply. In other words, if that kuti and that goy, they worked by Dina Israel, we're not saying we're not working in California now with the goy shalos, chilul Hashem, and all that. Let's say the goy is under us, the Jews. We have Jewish government, let's say, and the goy is under our rules. You're allowed to take from the goy's field as a worker, not stam, and pick and also take home for your wife and kids for supper. Yeah, Zog the Gemara, okay. Hanicha, that is okay. Lemando Omar Gezel Kuti Osur. There's a machlokes whether Gezel Goy is Osur or Mutter. If you say you're not allowed to steal from a Goy, which is by the way the halacha, you're not allowed to steal from Goy yet. So Gezel Kuti Osur, in other words, if you tell me generally, if I come to Tim McKenzie's field, I'm not allowed to steal, and here comes a Torah tells me, listen, you're usually not allowed to steal. Here you're allowed to not steal Chalila, Here you're allowed to take more than had you been Jewish. You're allowed to fill the bucket, go home, not just not just while you eat. That's the chiddush. There is such an opinion. According to the one who says you're allowed to steal from a goy, then what's the chiddush? If I'm allowed to go and steal from the goy, poil mi boy, then a poil all the more so. Of course I'm allowed to have more rights. By the way, Tosfos points out there's a big difficulty with this Gemara because Lamaisa, nobody actually says allowed to steal from a goy. The Mechlokes is, according to Tosfos, it's a question of the Rishonim, if you're supposed to correct him if he made a mistake. That's a business, yeah. In other words, the guy gave you too much change. He was supposed to give you 30 pounds back. He gave you 50 pounds, yeah. So are you supposed to tell him, hey, mister, take the 20 pounds back? It's a very praiseworthy thing. Kiddush Hashem. Well, but Lamaisa, make your adin. It's debatable whether you have to do it or not. So we're not entering the sugya now. We have enough on our plate now. But Lamaisa, that's a side question. But Lamaisa, the way the Gemara presents it as a question. If you say the Gezel Goy is always allowed, why does the Torah have to tell me, you're allowed to take as a worker, you fill the bucket, take it home? Of course, he's a Goy, it's not a Chiddush. Why does the Torah need to tell me an extra word? If so, according to this opinion, Mukim Law, that opinion which says Gezel Goy is allowed, he would really explain this Posuk, Bekerem Re'echo, something else. Bekerem Re'echo v'lo shel Hekdesh. Oh, that's what it means. Which means, it says in the Torah, Kerem Re'echo. If you remember from Bava Kama, because some people here have good memory, Re'echo many times comes to exclude who? Either Goy or Hekdesh, two opposites. Your friend is your fellow Jew. Either it includes the Goy or excludes the Hekdesh. According to Man, the Omar Kerem Re'echo cannot exclude a Goy, because from a Goy I can do whatever I want. So who's excluded by Re'echo? It's Hekdesh. Let's say there's a field of Hekdesh. That could be. Somebody dedicated a vineyard for Hekdesh. Scary. I would be scared to work there. So let's say you pick the grapes. You're not allowed to eat one grape. Hekdesh. And the Torah tells me that Hekdesh doesn't owe me the rights of eating while I'm picking, and therefore the Torah, and that's learned from the Torah. Re'echo v'lo Hekdesh. Nothing to do with the goy. Continues the Gemara to darshan. Ve'ochalta v'lo moitzetz. Oh, which means you're allowed to eat the grape, the entire grape, but don't be a waste. Don't waste. In other words, don't just suck the wine of it. Don't suck the grape juice and then throw the rest. Why? Because you're wasting. I think that's logic here. Are you with me? Yeah. In other words, you're allowed to eat the whole thing. You eat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grapes. But if you only eat half a grape and then you throw, you'd end up eating 10 grapes, right? You're wasting. Don't do that for the Baal Bais. Baal Bais also has rights. Anovim, you're allowed to eat grapes. Doesn't mean grapes as opposed to papaya, right? So why do you say anovim? Anovim, v'lo anovim ve'dover acher. What does it mean? Let's say I come to work and I personally like to eat grapes with yellow cheese. Grapes and yellow cheese are actually very nice together. Yeah. Are you allowed to come to the workplace and have the grape with a bit of yellow cheese? Grape and something else, grape and sugar, grape and salt, Rashi says. I don't know, grapes and salt so go so well together. You're not allowed to do that. Why? You're going to eat too much. When you eat only the grapes, very soon, it's going to come out of your nose, as the Torah says. Yeah, my sister told me once when we were children, remember till today, that they went to chocolate factory, not Charlie's, and they told them that the workers are allowed to eat as much chocolate as they want. The ones working in the assembly line. And after 1 or 2 days, they can't look at chocolate. And the same halacha applies there in elite. They don't allow them to take it home, just to eat while they work. They can't look at it anymore, right? So much of it. Yeah, it's not tempting anymore. That's the idea over here. But let's say you can have chocolate with yogurt, chocolate with this, chocolate with that. That would be more interesting. That would never end. That's what the Torah says. Have the anovim by themselves without any other, condiments and stories. Kenafshecha. Oh, now we're coming to the big, big story. That's an introduction for the next sugya. What's kenafshecha? Like your soul. What does it mean? Kenefesh shel Baal Bais, kach nafshel shel poel, which means the same standard. I don't know the word nefesh. The same being, the same standards that the Baal Bais may eat apply to the poel. What does it mean? Ma nafshecha, just like you yourself. Nefesh means your own being yourself. Oichel upotur, as nafshesh shel poel, oichel upotur, which means, what did we say before? Remember what we said in the Mishnah? Let's say the grapes are all picked, all very nice. I'm driving the truck, yeah. What am I doing? I'm now dealing with the grapes before they came to the final place of where they're ready for Meiser of Miruach. They're still all messy, not Chai b'Meiser, for sure not Midoraisa. Am I allowed to eat? Yes. Now, comes the Torah and tells me a poil is allowed to eat at that stage. What's the Chiddush? One would say as follows. One of the halachos, and we're now introducing for tomorrow's sugya, one of the, it's too much for now, it's 10:30, we're going to deal with it tomorrow. Let me just one more line. Sovecha veloy achila gasa. That's one more rule, and tomorrow we'll continue. You're allowed to eat to your heart's desire, to be satisfied, but not achila gasa. Achila gasa means you're over full and you're still feeling, balabas to give you the fourth plate of cholent. You just want to be nice to your hostess. You can't. That's called achila gasa, which is lachically not called achila. In Meikar Din, you're allowed to eat on Yom Kippur achila gasa. Yes, Shulchan Aruch. Don't look at. I'm not a koifer. Yeah, if you are very, 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 very stuffed, completely stuffed, and you eat, it's beyond eating. Meikar Din, I don't try it at home. You're allowed to eat like that. It's not called achila. It's not called eating. Don't try it at home in Yom Kippur because you don't know it's achila gasa. Right. Once you're over full and you're eating on top of that, then you achila. So achila gasa, you're not allowed to eat if you work in a friend's field. May we all have a nice day full of fruits of Torah and mitzvahs. And tomorrow we're going to discuss Meiser. That point of what's the chiddush with the poil not eating at that period of time is going to be discussed tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to learn a lot about Meisers. Thank you very much. Atzlocha Rabbe b'chol inyan. We have a great day. Thank you to everybody, to your Torah anytime, and YouTube, and everybody else here. Thank you. And a good chodesh tomorrow, 9:30. I hope to be on time. 9:30 tomorrow. Avos Shalom. Nachal Lachish 33 Bet Shemesh. Thank you.